Most people are stuck and they have no idea why. They're doing the work, saying the affirmations, reading the books, and still something invisible keeps pulling them back, like there's a ceiling they can feel but can't see.
And if somebody might say, well, I start and I stop, or I really want it, but I don't seem motivated to get it, or no matter what or I'm just not starting, like whatever it might be. These are all telling me there's something going on that's causing a block. There's something going on because you don't have the life that you want. More ridiculous that you believe you're not good enough. Because to me, that's just as make-believe.
Right.
You know, there's statements of belief and there's statements of fact.
Right.
Let's say it's 90, as an example, potentially today, degrees.
Right.
So if I say it's 90 degrees outside in Tennessee today, that could be a fact.
Right.
But if I say whatever I make that mean, though,
Right.
that's a statement of belief.
Yeah.
And most of us live our life swimming in statements of belief that we're calling statements of fact.
The goals they thought would take 10 years start showing up in 10 months. Today's guest helps leaders and high performers clear out what's been quietly holding them back for years. Dr. Jamil Sayegh. Welcome to the podcast. Did I tell you I told my mom she should embrace her mistakes? So she gave me a hug.
That's a burnout.
Mom, I know you're going to see that and call me immediately. It's totally a joke. Love you. I know you don't think I'm a mistake. Please don't call me.
I have a dad joke too I can offer.
Oh, I love it when guests have dad jokes too. Okay, I will. I'll try not to. If I know the answer, I'm going to at least pretend I don't know what it is. Go ahead.
So what if all this time soy milk was just regular milk speaking Spanish?
Muy bien.
That's good.
What's an invisible block, and how do you know you've got one?
So it's interesting because there's two aspects to it. One is, how do you know you have it? I remember a client years of mine saying to me, Jamil, how do I know when it's time to make a change? And I said to her, when you ask that question, right? So on the invisible side, it's invisible. Another word might be it's unconscious. Mm-hmm. So how do you know you have an unconscious block? Well, you don't. That's why it's unconscious.
Right, yeah.
But the idea is that you know in the sense that you look at your external reality and you say, is my life the way I want it to be? And you look at the goals and dreams you have, and you might say, well, this is my goal, this is my dream. How long have you had that goal? How long have you had that dream? Are you actively working toward it? Are you actively making progress? Are you closer? And if somebody might say, well, I start and I stop, or I really want it, but I don't seem motivated to get it, or no matter what or I'm just not starting, like whatever it might be. These are all telling me there's something going on that's causing a block. There's something going on because you don't have the life that you want.
Mm-hmm. And after that, how do you usually help someone?
Yeah, so first in the beginning, there's different ways that I work with people. Mm-hmm. On this side of it, it's identifying through conversation, your history, for example. What are the emotional blocks, the mental blocks, the energetic blocks? Through the conversation, similar to what you told me, where you may ask me a question and then we go layers deeper.
Yeah.
So I might ask somebody a question. So tell me about what's going on. And they share. And I might say, oh, it's interesting. How long has that been going on for? What was going on around that time in your life? What did you make that mean about you? And then we keep diving into it. And all of a sudden we uproot this belief that they've been holding for 50 years. Mm-hmm. And that belief has been sabotaging their finances, their relationship, all the different areas of their life. And they didn't even realize they were carrying it. Now that's step one, where we're bringing awareness to it. But you know people and I know people who they say, I know what to do, but I'm not doing it. Right? So the information isn't enough, but the information is a start.
Right.
You know, in personal development, Werner Erhard came up. He's the guy who created Landmark. And before that, it was called EST, Erhard Seminar Training.
Okay.
He's one of like kind of the founders, let's say, of the personal development world.
Like an OG.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And he talked about how, think of it like a pie, like a circle chart.
Okay. Love pie.
The smallest, me too. The smallest part of the pie is the things that you know that you know.
Okay. Can you give me an example?
So all the things that you know about. So for you, for example, you know about anesthesia.
Yes.
So you know that.
Correct.
Then there's the larger part of the pie, which is the things that you know that you don't know.
Okay.
So for example, do you speak Swahili?
No, and I know I don't know that.
Exactly. But then there's the largest part of the pie, which is the things that you don't know that you don't know.
Oh.
So you're completely in ignorance to it, where until you hear about it, it doesn't even exist for you, right? Mm-hmm. And so step one for me is through conversation, bring up what are all of these blocks that are going on in a person's life. And it could take hours, in that conversation, because we're exploring all of it, like every area of their life.
Yeah.
And very often there's this, I believe it's a Jewish saying, give me the boy up until 7 years old and I will give you the man.
Interesting.
And it's the idea that your personality in the imprinting phase is between 0 and 7 years old. About 95% of your personality is fully flushed out and developed by about 7 years old. Some people say it's even sooner, 3 to 4, but let's say 7 years old if we go with that. So what did you experience? What was it like with your family? What were you around? What were you exposed to? What did you learn how you needed to show up, who you needed to be loved and acceptable and things of that nature, to not be punished?
Right, yeah.
And then what did you see from dad and mom? How did they treat each other? Was there abuse in the household? What did you learn about life? What did you learn about money? And these are things that you've been carrying with you. Think of like a computer program.
Yeah.
A computer, there's hardware and there's software.
Right.
The hardware can only do what the software has inside of it installed to do.
Yeah.
And so if you've got these programs, think of it like a virus,
Right.
that it's been installed and it's just been replicating throughout your entire life. So now we bring the awareness to it. And then once I've got that, I guide them through a process using the unconscious mind, using a combination of hypnosis, mental and emotional trauma release work, and energy work to clear it. And it's an amazing thing, because I'll give you an example. One of the primary blocks that most people have, I call them core wounds.
Okay.
There can be an infinite amount of them, but there's typically the same like 5 to 7 show up for almost everybody.
Okay.
And it's things like, I'm not enough, I don't matter, I'm not worthy, I'm not lovable, things like that. And so let's say somebody has, I don't deserve, or I'm not worthy. And I might say, Doug, when you hear I'm not worthy of love, I'm not worthy of success, I don't deserve it, whatever, what comes up for you? And they might say, I feel this contraction, or I feel this heaviness, or I know intellectually it's not true as an adult, but it does feel real to me. And then we go through the process, and it can be relatively quick, and we release it. And once it's released, I'll ask them, you used to believe this, is that true? And often they'll laugh, because they literally, no part of them believes it anymore. It's not an affirmation where anyone can affirm anything.
Yeah.
I call them declarations. So affirmations have some research and studies behind them showing that if you affirm something you don't actually believe, days, weeks, months later, however long you're doing it, at the end of that process, you're likely going to be worse off. Because the reason is you're affirming something, and then the critical voice in your mind says, yeah, right. Or, I might say, I'm the world's greatest dad. And then the voice in my head goes, you weren't this morning with your son. Or the voice in my head goes, oh, like yesterday?
Or you're like, I don't even have kids.
This
doesn't make any sense.
And so the idea that when you affirm something, it only works if you actually believe it. But if you're just trying to delude yourself into believing it, and you actively hold beliefs that are counter to it until you do the deeper work to uproot that and release it, affirming is not really going to do much for you. So I call them declarations. So people will work with me and we'll write down through the conversation, what's this long list of all these beliefs that you carry? Could be 5, could be 10, could be 50. And once we have it, we alchemize over through that release process, each one. And now that thing that felt so true, so heavy, the weight you've been carrying, when that's gone, the way I think of it is your heart, your spirit comes through and says, this is what's true. And then you live into that. And it's the most liberating, freeing experience. And I'm sure we can dive into it more, but that's the big picture.
Yeah, it's cool. And it makes me think about, we hear these sayings, like even as you're younger, as you get older. And I think it's all depends like what you focus on, what you like, your interpretation of that is. Like one I was thinking of recently is like, well, if you're not like growing, you're dying. I'm like, well, can't you be growing and dying? Like my physical body is dying. You know what I mean? No matter what, I can still be on a level of personal growth or be maintaining a level of personal growth. One thing I heard you say when going through some of your social media stuff that I think relates to this is very interesting. Comparing our beliefs as we're younger to the belief in Santa Claus.
Yes.
To where maybe we're living a way where I developed this belief before I was 7 years old, just like you'd believe in Santa Claus. But then for some reason, it's easy for us to get rid of that belief of Santa Claus. But then we'll continue to believe all those limiting beliefs about ourselves the rest of our lives.
Yeah.
Compared to it.
Yeah. If I were to say to somebody, do you believe in the tooth fairy or Santa Claus or anything like that?
Yeah. Easter Bunny.
Yeah, Easter Bunny. And depending on the person and their relationship to that, let's say they take it in like an aggressive way and they go, no, it's ridiculous. I go, yeah, but it's more ridiculous that you believe you're not good enough. Because to me, that's just as make-believe.
Right.
You know, there's statements of belief and there's statements of fact.
Right.
Let's say it's 90, as an example, potentially today, degrees.
Right.
So if I say it's 90 degrees outside in Tennessee today, that could be a fact.
Right.
But if I say whatever I make that mean, though,
Right.
that's a statement of belief.
Yeah.
And most of us live our life swimming in statements of belief that we're calling statements of fact.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think about like, as you get older and you're talking about like hardware and software, right?
Yeah.
You think about like some of the original computers, like if you're trying to run your body and your life, your hardware, right? You could say on software from like Windows 95, like some people listening may not even know what that is. You know, it's like, well, no wonder you're not getting where you want to go.
Yes.
You know, you're trying to, you need the tools, or the tools that are available are high-speed internet, but you're running on dial-up as far as your beliefs go.
Yeah, if we play with this idea that kind of connects what you just said to what I said earlier, look at your life the way it's lived right now, and then you say, is this the way I want it to be? Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, in this physical 3D reality, time is a thing. Mm-hmm. So if I say I want to get into the best shape of my life, or if I say I want to get into a relationship, or if I say I want to create a certain amount of financial abundance, there's a step-by-step, there's a plan, there's time that it'll take to mature. Yeah. You know, if a woman says I want a baby and then she gets pregnant, she can't have it tomorrow. Right. She has to wait like 9 months, give or take. Right. And so there is a natural, let's say, gestation period of any goal that you have. Mm-hmm. But you see the progress over time. And if you're actively moving toward it, there's no block. It's just a reality of the physical world that it takes some time to create whatever you want. Mm. You know, I was complimenting you on this podcast studio before we started. Yeah. And you said, you know, this isn't how it looked in the beginning. Like you painted it and you put all the things up. Yeah. And so, but if you were to tell me, Jamil, my dream is to create a podcast studio. Right. And I say, awesome. And then 6 months later, you tell me, my dream is to create a podcast studio. And I say, yeah. And what have you done about it? And you say, no, nothing. And there might be a reason for that. Mm-hmm. There might be 6 months of all this stuff you were doing and you just chose to not prioritize it. Yeah. That's different. Right. But if you had all the time in the world and you knew exactly what you quote unquote needed to do, but you weren't doing it, there's a reason. Right. And I often tell people, all behavior makes perfect sense given the thinking you have that appears real to you. So however life is occurring for you, you're going to act in alignment with that. Right. And so it's not that whatever you're not doing what you said you were going to do. You're crazy. No. You're not doing what you said you were going to do because for you, it doesn't make sense to do it given whatever you're believing. Mm-hmm. So for example, what if I create this podcast studio and what if I have people on and what if people don't like the show and I get criticized, and your relationship to criticism might be such that you don't want to put yourself in that situation. So you just never start. You're trying to avoid the pain. Right. It always makes sense no matter what people are doing. Yeah. And to someone's capacity, their beliefs, and, you know, the action really shows like what someone's thinking and doing. Like you said, if they have plenty of time and money and everything else, it's like there's something else going on, you know? And I've learned throughout this, like I'm playing a marathon game. Yes. You know, like it takes a while to get coaching clients and this and stuff. And like sometimes for me, it can take a little bit longer to learn certain things and whatever, but I've always have been relentless. Yes. And so even with like, for a while, you saw like part of like the podcast now is like I have like photos coming up on each side, you know. For the last probably month or so, I had a lot of photos just out on my countertop, you know, to where like some people have like, what is going on? You know, it's like, I'm working on this, but it's not, putting photos on the wall isn't like a top priority for me. Yes. Obviously, you know, like this will get done, you know, and then just enjoying that process and building it, you know, like what's the rush to put up a bunch of photos from my childhood. You know what I mean? Like there isn't per se, and like just to enjoy doing it as well and just continuously work on and build it. And then once it's done, they're done. The photos are up. Yeah. You know what I mean? I always have more goals for like just different lighting today. Like you're watching, it's more dramatic. Something that I wanted to just speak to with what you shared, because this could be something great for every listener. Yeah. You think of anybody you come into contact with. This could be someone really close to you. It could be a spouse, a partner, a friend, a child, whoever it might be, a client. Mm-hmm. And initially I find what most people do is they hear somebody's circumstance, whatever they're doing, whatever they're not doing. Yeah. And they'll say, you know, you should do this, or why aren't you doing that? Mm-hmm. And they'll say it because it seems like they care. They're trying to help.
Right.
But it comes across as, well, I know what you should do, and it's so obvious, and you should just do this. Like, kind of, what's wrong with you, or why aren't you doing it?
Yeah.
But using that framework I just said, if all behavior makes perfect sense, given the thinking you have that appears real to you, the question isn't, it's not Jake isn't doing this, what's wrong? It's, I wonder how life is occurring for Jake that at some level, choosing consciously or unconsciously not to do this is what's occurring.
Right.
And so it's like, oh, you wanting to do this, you're not doing it. What is that like for you? If you were to do this, what would that represent? If you were to do this and it didn't go well, what might that represent? You know, what would that mean about you? And if someone's open to these kind of conversations, they start to explore it, and they might go, I wasn't even aware I believed that. I wasn't even aware I was holding on to that. I didn't realize that was holding me back.
Right, yeah.
And then through that conversation, there's freedom that emerges.
Right.
And now it's freedom to do it if they wish, or not do it if they don't. But yeah, it's you can relate to people in a way that empowers them, empowers you, brings the conversation closer. Because it's almost like when somebody is really worked up, saying calm down doesn't really usually work.
Not typically.
But if you were to try to connect with, why is it that they're even feeling worked up?
Right.
What is it that's occurring for them? Not, if I were to say, Jake, you shouldn't be this angry. Well, it's easy to say that from my point of view, because maybe I didn't intend to hurt you, or it doesn't make sense to me why you would take it that way. But that's not the point. The point is you're feeling what you feel.
Right.
And so if I'm really wanting this conversation to be as beautiful as possible, as productive as possible, I want this relationship to be as serving as possible, then I'm going to want to connect with, Jake, you seem really frustrated right now. I care about you. I care about our relationship. Can you help me understand? What are you feeling?
Yeah.
And then you might say, yeah, I'm feeling this, this, and this. And then I might say, I don't have to agree with it, but it's real for you. And I might say, wow, that sounds really hard. So when I did this is how you felt about that. Yeah. And then at that point, well, great. I'm going to apologize because I genuinely did not intend that. But I'm going to own that there's intention and there's impact. I remember my wife taught me that I didn't have words for it in that way. I can have good intentions, but the impact could be negative.
Right.
And if I sit in the idea of, well, my intentions were good, so I'm not going to apologize. Or my intentions were good, so what do I have to, there's nothing for me to say.
Right.
No, there's somebody that was impacted in some negative way by something, let's say I did or didn't do, say or didn't say, and I want to make that right.
Yeah, and that's a great way, and a very healthy way to talk to people in any sort of relationship. You know, I've unfortunately been in a situation where even after explaining to someone to where this is my intention, reflecting back how someone feels, validating them, but them coming back and saying, no, your intention was this. And it's like, okay, well, this conversation is not going to go anywhere. You know, because if they're not even, they're putting, like I said, what they're thinking, what they're judging, like they're telling you how you're thinking.
Yes.
It's like that this isn't going to work.
Yeah. I often tell people, so you only have control over one person. You have control over you. You have influence to varying degrees over everybody else. So if somebody's listening and they have children, you have more influence over your children than you do over like your neighbor.
Right.
You have more influence over your neighbor versus like the person who lives 2 states away. Right. And so when you think about it in that way, I can't control how somebody receives, what I share.
Correct.
But at the same time, I often tell my clients, I love the word responsibility when you break it up into the ability to respond and you say, okay, is my life the way I want it to be? If the answer is no, to whatever degree, I have the ability to do something about it. Now, if I'm in a conversation with somebody, I say this in like a loving way, I can delude myself into believing that I'm going to take responsibility both for what I say and for what you hear. Because that will support me in ensuring that whatever it is I'm trying to convey is not only going to be conveyed as effectively as I can, but I'm going to listen to all of the little signs. So for example, if I share something, your body language changes. You roll your eyes, you look frustrated, you change your posture. Then I'm like, okay, I just shared what I thought was good news. But the way Jake responded to that, even without his words yet, is telling me that potentially did not land the way that I thought it would have. So let me take responsibility for that. Before I assume Jake misunderstood me, I'm going to assume I wasn't as clear as I thought I was. So I'm not going to make it a you thing. I'm going to take the ownership of it, because even if it quote unquote was you, that doesn't help me.
Right.
I'm going to take it on me And even though I know I can't control other people,
Yeah.
if I do it to that degree, my communication ends up being far better.
Yeah, and you can use it for like simple things. It makes me think of I was getting gelato somewhere, right? And I was like, I want to try all the flavors, you know? And,
As one does.
yeah, exactly, you know? And the lady, I don't know what flavor it was. It was something I never had before, some fruit, you know, I never had before. And she was like, oh, what do you think? And I'm like, yeah, it's good. And she's like, yeah, but your face says it's not. You know, let's try something else. You know, and so I was like, wow, okay. I was like, yeah. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't like fantastic. So she was able to read me in a way to where then she could serve me even better.
Yes.
In this case, gelato.
And that's a fun way of putting it, actually, because if anyone has clients, customers, people that they're trying to leave a positive impression on, family, loved ones, whoever it might be.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are not comfortable sharing what's true for them because they don't want to be upsetting or displeasing. So in that example, you know, if I say, Jake, I spent hours making this gelato and it's like, I can't wait for you to try it. And then I give it to you. And then you try it and you don't like it at all.
Like,
And then I go, how was it? And you were like, and you got this face, like, and you just go, it's great, or it's fine.
It's so good.
Now, on the one hand, the very, you know, the human side, I get that, you know, there's a level of respect, there's a level of care, there's a level of not desiring to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah, of course.
And on the other side of it, if I'm the practitioner, I want to know.
Right.
Because if I'm the one delivering the service, the product, and it isn't as good as I think it is.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, different people have different taste preferences.
Of course.
Somebody else might love it if you didn't like it. But the point is, you didn't have a good experience. My intention was for you to have a great experience.
Correct.
And if I know that it wasn't great, I might be able to do something to make it even better.
Right.
If I don't know, you walk away, you're not going to come back. You're not going to refer anybody. And then it turns into a very costly thing that you didn't, you know, speak up. Now, obviously, there's a way of speaking up that can be more likely to be received well.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, it's an amazing thing and it expands to business as well as personal.
Yeah, even with the podcast, like afterwards, I'll ask you, how was your experience? Is there any way we can improve? I ask every guest, you know, and at least sit down and consider it, right? I mean, it's, you know, everyone's different, right? And so even like I was talking about the chairs earlier, I'm like, oh, I'm glad for, you know, someone said something. I'm like, I never even thought of like, you know, maybe changing the chairs or something, you know? So yeah, it's just good to even be open to feedback and intention. So you may not be expecting this one. This is from like our initial conversation. You used to drink 3 to 4 liters of soda a day.
Yeah.
What was going on there?
It was a long time ago. Yeah. So the way I look back at my childhood very lovingly, and it's funny, sometimes I don't know other people do this, but when my wife and I are in a grocery store, I will gas station anywhere where there's like, you know, food that some people would call junk food. I would look back so lovingly and just go, wow, that was the best when I was a kid. Or, you know, I lived on, you know, processed food and that was like all the time what I ate. And I don't eat it anymore, but I can look at it and just think that was a chapter of my life. And I have a lot of fond memories of that. So when I was a kid, I did not really touch water much. I didn't eat vegetables. Fruit and I were fun. You know, we're friends. But I didn't really eat things that in hindsight, my body would have benefited from. And when it came to the soda, I just loved it. Tasted delicious. It was my go-to, had multiple liters of it in the house kind of at any given time. And it wasn't until around 14 years old that I had a kind of a health wake up, let's say, and I gave it up. And that was a cold turkey thing. And I definitely went through some withdrawal at that degree of consumption.
Understandably. And I'm not judging you. I mean, when I was younger, I drank a lot of soda too. Like I think my blood type was probably Mountain Dew.
Yeah, exactly. I was a Sprite Coke mix.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Into the Coke, I see. So, I mean, with that system comes to 14, what was really going on there drinking that much soda?
Let me see. So when I don't think it was anything beyond just, I guess, genuine. It tasted really good at the time. Like when I was a kid, let's say around that age, my priorities were my friends and video games, I think, for the most part. You know, spending time with my family to a degree, but nowhere near as much as in hindsight I would have liked to.
Yeah.
But and a lot of my friends who played video games drank a lot of soda. So potentially there was some degree of community or like fitting in.
Oh yeah.
And it was just something, you go to a restaurant and everyone's like, you can't get water, you got to get something.
Yeah.
And so like I would just get that. It was probably a combination of, it felt fun. I'd go to the movie theater, you get the big soda, you get the popcorn, it's an experience, you do all these things. And I think that was probably the driver.
What video games? I'm just curious because I love video games. I still play them some.
Yeah. So I played a lot, but when I was like the big ones, probably starting 9 years old or something, 10 years old, started with Pokemon. Okay. And that was at the Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
And so,
I had the same one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so really went into that, probably like thousands of hours.
Thousands.
Yeah, probably. And put a lot of time into that. Yeah. And then as I got a bit older, I started getting into more like console games. And so I had a regular Xbox and Halo was like my game.
Oh yeah, nice.
And I loved that. I played that all the time. And then Xbox Live came out. And it was now I could play not just people at my house, I could play online. That opened up, playing until like 3 a.m. And that was so much fun. And then as I got older, I kept playing games until I was about 24. And then when I went to med school, I thought, I'm going to fail out of school if I keep playing because I was playing like part-time job level.
Clocking in.
Yeah. And so at that point I said, I need to make a choice here. So I stopped.
Nice. That's awesome. I always liked, Ocarina of Time was my favorite.
Oh yeah, Zelda.
Yeah, in which like they're remaking it.
Yeah,
I guess like Nintendo, there's always like there's like social media about it where like people hear like the ocarina and they're like, wait, what?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll probably end up getting it. I mean, it's so nostalgic at this point. I think it's one of the biggest things.
And that's one of the things, if I may share,
of course,
that I so loved. And this is more in hindsight. I didn't think this way at the time. Yeah. But from whenever I started, 8, 9, 10, around there. It was Pokemon, Super Mario, Mario Kart, all Donkey Kong, all that, all the way up to Pokemon. And then as I got, that was in the beginning, all the way up to like Halo and stuff. And then as I got older, the last game I really played competitively was World of Warcraft.
Oh, okay.
And I got into that for about 8 years. And I was putting in 20, 30, 40 hours a week. Yeah. And it was so fun. But the thing is that I learned in hindsight so many lessons from video games. And I think because of the nature of my work and because one of my favorite quotes is the master has mastered the art of being a student forever. I always look for what is life reflecting back to me? What can I take from this? What can I learn from it? And when it came to my video game time, discipline, commitment. Oh, you want this thing? Great. You got to put in the time.
Right.
You have to actually not necessarily grind, but you have to put in whatever is required. And, there's a concept in video games of an avatar. And the avatar is like the character that you're playing.
Right.
So you're playing, this is your avatar. Yeah. And in the video game, your avatar starts at level 1. Right. And they've got no good gear and they don't have any, accomplishments or any powers or anything.
No war. Yeah.
Nothing.
Yep.
And you have to build it up.
Right.
But then let's say you fast forward 3 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years. And if you're consistently building this character up, night and day difference, your character's level, 112 and they've got some of the best gear and they've accomplished all these things in the game. Well, that's your avatar in the game. This is your avatar in real life. Right. And then it's like, well, what am I doing? Because it's the same exact, let's say, skill set that in a way that I developed in the game, that I developed in real life. And so in these different video games, commitment and discipline for sure. And then there was a striving for mastery. Mastery is one of my highest values and mastery is never ending for me. So there's never a point where you've arrived and there's nothing else to learn. Right. There's never a point where you can't get better. Right. There's never a point, like when you think about the best people, let's say in any sports, whoever's listening, think of a sport that you might look up to or like, let's say, and you have certain people that play at that elite level. They're the best of the best. Yeah. So someone in basketball might be like a Kobe, a Michael Jordan, a LeBron, someone like that. Yeah. And then you compare someone like that to more of an average NBA player. And you compare the average NBA player to the average, let's say, college basketball player, all the way down to like little league, basketball or something like that. And at each level, there's a certain increase in skill. But the people that are operating at the highest levels, they don't ever disregard the quote unquote basics. There's a foundational understanding of I'm going to keep deepening my understanding of these foundations to get better and better and better and make it more unconsciously competent, let's say. And so with video games, I led a group. And so I was learning how to hire and fire people, which is sometimes was difficult. Learning how to navigate conflict. We're different people. We have a set mission of this is what we're trying to accomplish together, but there's 10 or 25 people and you get different egos, different personalities starting to get competitive or argue with each other. And that's derailing the whole thing we're trying to do together.
Right, yeah.
Which these 3 people are now in a way wasting the time of these other 22. And how do I navigate that in a way though that preserves the team and the morale?
Right.
And so there was a lot of, in hindsight, business lessons. There was personal growth lessons. There was wanting to be the best that I could be. And so certain people in my world when I was growing up viewed video games more as a waste of time. And I could see how, from a certain perspective, it could be seen that way. But for me, it was one of the greatest, let's say, it forged me.
Yeah.
It played a big role in my development.
Yeah, again, it's all, you know, life is like what we give meaning to it, what our perspective is on it. And I agree. I mean, I can think of a couple of examples like, well, one, like leveling up, right? Like developing new skills. Like, again, like you said, yourself being like an avatar, leveling up. Or I think of some people I would play with, you'd have some people who are playing for fun and other people like taking like very serious, you know?
Yes.
Or like some people who would think it would be funny to like sabotage the team, you know? They're just like, oh, I'm going to go run in and it's sabotaging the team. Or like friends or with people you're playing games with, like there's going to be people who want to pick you up.
Yes.
You know, if you fall down, you know, or revive you or whatever. One of my favorite ones though is like I've heard this like most relatable, I guess, in like a video game. It's like, say there's an attractive person you want to go talk to, right? Like I see like an attractive girl over here, and it's like, oh man, yeah, I need to go over and talk to them. And it's like you keep meaning to, and you kind of wait, you know, and you wait, and then all of a sudden they go around a corner, and then they're gone forever.
Yes.
And you're like, I will never see that person again. And you're like, shoot, it's a game over.
Yes.
And that's how it is sometimes. Like, I can't remember what song it is, but it's like good things come to those who wait, but not to those who wait too late. You know, and you have to take action, you know, and I can't remember what song it is, but it's true. You know, I mean, it's good to have patience, but at a certain point, like you need to take action or realize that, you know, if someone in your life has moved on or some other action happened, you're like, sorry, what do you expect? You can't wait around forever, you know? Yeah.
There's a distinction in what you just reminded me of. It's like, are you being patient? Or are you being fearful?
Yeah. Big difference.
There's a big difference. And patience might be, I've done everything I can up until this point. I'm actively doing more over time. And I know that I'm doing what is required and it's just taking time.
Right.
That's different than there's actions that I know I could be taking that I'm not taking and I'm putting it off.
Right.
And I don't really have a reason to, other than either I'm uncomfortable, I'm afraid, and then it turns into we're blocking ourselves.
Yeah. When you were 14, you mentioned earlier, what happened at 14 that was pivotal for you?
Oh yeah. So for me, it started with not making the baseball team, which was devastating.
Okay.
So baseball was my life.
Still devastated.
Yeah, to this day. The baseball.
You seem like you're still a little devastated from it.
I need a moment.
Yeah. Oh God. We'll be right back.
So what ends up happening is baseball is like my life I grew up in New York, big Yankee fan, and probably from 6 or 7 until let's say 14 freshman year of high school in New York. And I played in Little League. I did all these things, played a big family, played with a lot of cousins. And I was pretty good. I'm left-handed. I was a pitcher. I also I was a great hitter, outfield sometimes. But then I joined I went to join the baseball team. And when I get nervous in baseball, I became wild. So as a pitcher,
like, wait, in what way?
You're the catcher and the ball should be like at you. And it's like 6 feet, 12 feet to the left.
Oh, it makes you think like if you're right-handed and like someone's like, here, like you got something in your right hand and they're like, oh, just throw the ball with your left hand. You're like, no, because it's going to go like way over here.
Yeah. And so when I was just having fun, the way my family would put it is like, oh yeah, he's dangerous. Like, the way that, in a good way,
right.
The balls would go exactly where I wanted them to go. It was fast. It was like awesome. And then I go to this tryout and I got pretty nervous and I thought I did pretty well, but I didn't do anywhere near as well as I thought. And then I walked back, I think it was a Friday. I walked back on Monday and they have the paper on the wall. I don't know if they still do that with all the names who made the cut. And everyone's all excited. There's a crowd of people around. And I walk up and I'm looking for my name. And it's like one of those movies where it's like, I must have missed it. And I looked again.
Yeah, you're like looking at a receipt. And it's like the number at the bottom's like, you can't believe it's real. You know?
And so I didn't make the team. And that was again, really, really hard.
Yeah.
And then I was in class maybe the next day.
Uh-huh.
This guy that I had met recently, he was one of my first friends in school.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, I'm going to join the cross country team and they don't require tryouts and, you should join.
Yeah.
And I'd never ran like intentionally in my life.
Yeah.
And so I was
Just from like a dog or something.
yeah. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I joined, and that ends up being like one of the best decisions for me ever.
Okay.
But I joined the team, ended up going on to do track and all these things. And after about the first 6 to 8 months of being in school, running like 5-6 days a week, I was just sick all the time. And I didn't know why. And always had a cough, always had a runny nose, always had like, I was walking around with tissues and toilet paper and like my nose was all chapped and like I was always feeling low energy, tired, never good. And I didn't really know anything about health in a holistic way. And so it didn't occur to me until 14 years old, let's say halfway through the year, give or take, this intuition came in and it just said, it's your diet.
As you're drinking your third,
your
your third liter of Sprite, you're like, wait a minute.
So it's like this intuition comes in, it's your diet.
Yeah.
And I thought, all right, let me look into that. And so I go online and, it's funny. I don't even know if Google was like Ask Jeeves, like whatever it was. It was like early on.
You ever seen that thing where it's like someone calls you like, oh, you're older than Google. And you're like, and you look it up. I think Google came out in like 1995. And so if you were born before then, you're like, yep. I'm older than Google.
Yeah. And so I start looking things up and I basically see that from what I can tell, everything I'm putting in my body is bad for me. And so I start some changes overnight, soda being the big one. I went from the 3-ish liters of soda to 3 liters of water. And I just stopped the soda. Yeah. I was living on McDonald's and Burger King and KFC and all these things multiple times a week. Stopped all that.
Delicious, but yeah.
Exactly. Not necessarily nutritious.
Not nutritious, yeah.
And so
that could relate to relationships, right? Like delicious, but not nutritious.
Yeah, exactly. And so certain things I just completely stopped. And as a result of that, relatively quickly, a month, 2 months, and I started sleeping better. I had pretty bad acne. Acne cleared up. My track time started getting significantly faster. That was one of my motivations in the beginning because prior to that intuition coming in, I was frustrated. Okay. Because I'm running every day. I'm practicing 2-3 hours a day, just like all my friends are. Yeah. They're all getting better. I'm not. They're all getting faster. I'm running the same times and I feel really bad. And it didn't make sense to me. And then when I started cleaning things up, specifically nutrition-wise in the beginning, that was the first kind of domino for me. Everything started to change. Yeah. And then when that started to change, I think YouTube came out around that time. Okay. 2004, 2005. That's not right. Certain doctors start making these videos and they knew a bit more about holistic medicine. And they were all medical doctors or osteopathic doctors, so MDs or DOs. And they started sharing, oh yeah, like, this is a great supplement or eat this way or do this lifestyle thing. And I went out to one of these like Staples, let's say, and I got a office like computer paper. Oh yeah, you told me about 500.
I love this part. You told me this before.
Yeah, it's like a stack of like 500 or something. Yeah. And I got a pen and I started writing like the smallest I could possibly write. And I wrote and I numbered it on the top right, and I put front and back, and I filled up the entire like 500 with videos and notes that I could find online. And I started to study it, and I started to apply it. So I started feeling better. But I started to have cousins, family members, friends, like a lot of my uncles are physicians, and I was only 14, but they would say, oh, like, what are you up to? And I would just share with a lot of enthusiasm. Oh, like all this, here's my binder. I didn't have that with me, but it's like, I would just share. And one of the things that was most pivotal for me was I had an uncle who was the head of internal medicine at a hospital. And the uncle said to me, what have you been up to? And I shared thinking, oh, he's a doctor, he'll get it. Yeah. And my mindset at the time was my dad was a doctor. I want to be a doctor. I'm quote unquote getting it early. Right. I'm learning it now. Yeah. And I didn't know that like they didn't really teach these things I was learning in medical school. So my uncle says, oh, like what have you been up to? And I share. And then he says, where did you learn that? And I start telling him. And he goes, well, let's say you had a patient and the patient had A, B, and C. What would you do? And I didn't know he was giving me a real patient. Like I thought it was hypothetical. Yeah. So I just map out like, oh, I would do these like 20 things. I would stop this. I would start that, change these things. Yeah. And a little bit naive, but good hearted. And I was like, and the problem will go away. Yeah. So that was like the first, let's say, I got bit with the bug of service. And then as that started, it rolled into relationship stuff and spirituality stuff and then business stuff and mindset stuff. And then the energy work came in and all these things snowballed. But that was the beginning of it.
It's so cool. I remember first telling me that. It's like, because how old were you?
14.
14. Yeah. And I guess like Can you just tell me more like how that felt like initially, like when you like realized like, oh, like how I'm behaving and learning is actually like helping someone else?
There was like the snowball metaphor of momentum where the snowball goes down the hill and gets bigger and bigger. In the beginning, again, I was learning it for me.
Yeah, exactly.
And then same thing happened with 15 is when I found out about Tony Robbins, and then I found out about,
Yeah, you're good.
NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I started to study the mind and how it worked. And then I started studying relationships. And the same thing happened where at 15, I'd be in conversation with people who were in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and they would tell me about these challenges they were having. And if they were open to it, I would share different recommendations. And sometimes I would even mediate conversations, and I'd have them come back and tell me either that helped so much or we didn't get a divorce as a result of what you shared. And I hadn't been in a relationship. I was just getting the information from people that were experts in the field because I was studying as far as I could find, like the best of the best.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, initially it was just for me.
Yeah.
I was never in a relationship, and whenever I got in one, I wanted to quote unquote do it right.
Yeah.
My health wasn't where I wanted it to be. I wanted to fix that. And then I was living in a lot of fear. I wanted to work through that. So initially it was all for me. But as people started getting benefit, I started feeling this excitement of this is making a difference. I'm loving learning it, but the fact that people are getting the benefit, and then there's positive reinforcement because they're giving me acknowledgments and compliments and all these things. So like ego-wise, that felt really good.
Yeah.
And then just the level of impact, it just felt aligned. And so the more I did it, the more I wanted to do it, which made me want to learn more and more. And then as I got older, I connected to this perspective because it rung true for me in my experience. I would read a book, let's say, or I'd take a course and I'd learn something that I hadn't been exposed to before. And 6 months later, 5 months later, a year later, I would meet somebody who I'd work with, and something that I learned in that book or that course would be the reason why they didn't get a divorce. It would be the reason why potentially their life is saved, like they're still alive. It'd be the reason why something like awful didn't happen. And I hold a book or I look at a course and I don't just see a book. I see this is going to be the reason why I'm able to help somebody in the future in a way that I can't yet currently.
Yeah.
And so I relate to everything like so much differently, but it all started again back then.
Yeah. I love your ability to like master things and go in deep. And I think your life has been transformed in such a way because, well, one, you're serving others, but you're not just reading something, you're studying it and applying it, you know? And it makes me think of a story where like it's true testament that just because you're not in the exact situation yourself, that you can't learn from an expert and apply it.
Oh yeah.
And I can think of examples like I read, I don't have kids, but I've read some books that are like talking about kids, you know, like fire child, water child. And someone I was talking to about it was like, I was talking to someone else and they're in a conversation. They're like, oh, well, I'm not going to take advice from anyone who doesn't have kids, you know? And I'm like, okay, you know, like how does that work? Where they have such a limiting mindset in that situation. It's like true testament to where you hadn't even been in a relationship and you were saving other people's relationships because you were learning from the experts.
If I can speak to that, because I think there's multiple like connection points here. Yeah. So first, let's say there's a difference between coaching and let's say consulting. Okay. Consulting often is the person has already done what it is that you want to do, or they have some degree of expertise in that area, so they can guide you. Right. And they can say, Jake, you know, you just gave me your business plan. Right. I just crossed out like 20 things. Don't do this. Don't do this. I did that. And as a result, this is what happened. Right. And then all of a sudden that one conversation maybe saves you 15 years. Right. You know, and like that can be really valuable. Yeah, of course. Now coaching, if you do have a level of expertise in that area, great, that you can give the advice. But coaching is often more based on listening to a person and asking questions to help them get a better, let's say, perception of themselves, their situation, what's holding them back, what they want. And they start to see themselves in an empowered way, clearer. And something that seemed impossible now seems possible. Now, I share that as a preface because I have a mentor, and this mentor tells a story where he says, you know, some people say you can't coach somebody on something you haven't done yourself. And he goes, well, dear God, I hope that's not true. Or the guy who hired me who wants to go to Mars is screwed. And it's this idea that, like you talked about earlier in the conversation, like this personal development will have these quotes or these adages that on the surface can appear true, but they can also appear like they kind of take it too far, where it's not always true.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's like we like to remove nuance as people for whatever the reason. And when we can bring the nuance back and we just see that in certain circumstances this can be true and in others it might not be. So if somebody were to tell me, well, you don't have kids, so I'm not going to take your perspective on this with much weight. Very valid.
Right.
Because having kids, I'd imagine, changes things in a dramatic way.
Yeah, of course.
And at the same time, that doesn't mean that because I don't have kids, I can't share a perspective that would really help you.
Exactly.
And when we can open ourselves up to both being true at the same time, then it's not a binary of like it's helpful or it's not,
Right.
or I let it in or I don't. It becomes a continuum of to what degree do I let it in? How much weight do I give this perspective or this opinion? And so a way a mentor of mine puts it is somebody gives him advice and he filters it through, is this advice qualified?
Right.
In the sense of, is it based on lived result? Is it based on just really good information that for whatever the reason they have access to that I haven't yet?
Right.
But always considering, that you can always learn something from the person in front of you.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes totally sense. I mean, from a non-judgmental side, like I'm always like curious too, right? We're both coaches, understand, like I can understand why they might think that. Doesn't mean I agree with it. You know what I mean? It would be different in case if I'm like, oh, here's my perspective on kids.
Yeah.
Not like, hey, I read this really good book. Here's what this professor said about children in this case. And it makes me think too of, how consulting, like you said, how consulting and coaching is much differently, because a lot of people can find out the how to do things these days, but the coaching is more just like, why aren't you doing this if you already know how? You know what I mean? And I think a lot of people focus more on just the how and I need to find out how, when like the how doesn't matter if your blocks are in the way.
Yeah, the consulting is, like you said, it's more of the strategy. It's how do I do this?
Right.
The coaching is more, how do I help you get more out of yourself?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things we mentioned about doing before is that a lot of people have trouble forgiving people in their lives for whatever reason. And you have an exercise to help with that. Yeah. Do you mind just walking us through that on the podcast where maybe someone can listen, and if they are holding something against someone or need to forgive someone, they can walk through it with us and maybe forgive them?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. If I may give a preface to the exercise so people have a better understanding of it. So first, where this comes from. So this exercise is, or the origin of it is in Hawaii.
Okay.
And so part of my background from a healing perspective is Reiki and Ho'omana and pranic healing. Okay. So Reiki is a Japanese form of energy work. Ho'omana is an ancient Hawaiian form of energy work. Ho'o means to make. Okay. Mana is energy or life force. But Hawaiian's very metaphorical. And so they don't have, I think it's like but they have very few like vowels and consonants. Like there's not many ways to make different words. Okay. And so one word can mean 10 different things.
You want to say aloha so many ways.
So one word can mean 10 different things.
Okay.
Or more. And so the idea is it's metaphorical. So when you say to make energy or to make life force, it really means to empower.
Oh, okay.
And so the idea is you're empowering the individual to create the life that they want. And then pranic healing comes from the Philippines. Okay. So when it comes to the Hawaiian side of things, about 2021, might have been 22, I feel this intuition that after that 14-year-old, that intuition kind of came in as your diet. Yeah. Several points in my journey, intuition came in a way that was so life-saving for me that at some point I stopped ignoring it and I started really leaning in and honoring what my like inner voice is telling me. And it told me basically it's time to do energy work.
Okay.
And I was already exposed to it, but I didn't really grow up with anything like that. So I had a lot of skepticism around it, didn't really know anything about it. And people that were in my circle didn't really believe in anything like that. And so by proximity, I didn't either. And then I started to get exposed to certain things in medical school that I really couldn't explain. Certain people that were trained in certain things that they would put their hands on me and I would feel things. And I would think, what's that? Yeah. Like that. It was a sensations and all these things. And I go, okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And then I would go through these processes. And so I graduate, I get introduced to this individual at a medical clinic. I work in this clinic for 9 months at the Holistic Oncology Center. And so he shakes my hand and he felt something. And he just told me, you would be really good at Reiki. And I don't know if it's an East Coast thing, like being from New York. I don't know how to take a compliment like that at the time.
Yeah. I mean, was it like a Makes like what kind of handshake it was, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That's fun.
like a dab, you know, like, oh, this guy's,
He's got something.
this is gonna be like
And so
healing fist bump or something.
yeah. So long story short, he feels something. He tells me that. I didn't really know how to take it. I thanked him. I moved on. And 9 months went by. I ended up moving back to New York because I was in Arizona at the time.
Okay.
No, that's where I went to med school and where I worked.
Yeah.
Moved back to New York, where I'm from. And maybe a year into COVID, intuition comes in and goes, it's time to do energy work. And so I reach out to him and he basically tells me, you're going to want to do this training in person. So he connects me with some people in Arizona. I go over there, I do the trainings. As I do the training, you know, I guess most people do this and they feel all these things. The way I put it is I had the energetic sensory acuity of a brick. So I couldn't feel anything. And so I finished the
opposite of being bricked up.
Yeah, exactly. So I finished the,
Sorry.
that's fun. I finished the experience and the woman basically says, do you notice anything? Do you feel anything?
Yeah.
And I just say, no, like I don't feel anything.
That's also, I can relate to.
Yeah. So I go back home to New York
It's all right.
and no, it's okay. The timing was unfortunate where in a way it was unfortunate. In a way it was really beautiful. My uncle had passed away, my mom's brother,
I'm sorry to hear
like
that.
2 days after I got back. And my grandmother was caring for him. You know, he needed a lot of support health-wise, and she was caring for him for like 62 years.
Wow.
He passes away, and now she's alone. So I was staying with my mom at the time, and so she came to live with us, and we were there together. And I knew that the energy work could be helpful from a grieving perspective. And in my mind, it was, I've got nothing to lose, and it might help.
Yeah.
So she lays on the couch, and I put my hands at different points on the body, and I start just going through the motions, like literally and metaphorically, just trusting that it's going to work because like, I've been trained in this. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But again, didn't feel anything. I had no way of really knowing it was going to work. And she had back pain her whole life because she grew up in Puerto Rico. She would she was like a tomboy. She would jump out of trees, hang out, do all these things.
Yeah.
And she like messed up her back.
Oh, dang.
And so her whole life she had back pain. So she tells me after, she goes, your hands were so warm. And she goes, it felt like there was like a sauna coming out of your hands and her back pain was gone.
Yeah, wow.
And then the next day, still no back pain, but she looked lighter. So we did it again. And we did it every day. And over the course of 2 weeks or a week and a half, whatever it was, you could just see like the easing of the grief, the lightness. Obviously, it was still really sad and it was still difficult.
Yeah, of course.
But it was easier than it may have been otherwise. But her back pain stayed gone. And that was the part that stood out to me, where she felt something, even though I didn't. So then I start working with more people. Same thing started happening.
Yeah.
Then I kept doing the trainings and I went to Hawaii, which is leading into all this.
Yeah.
And I get this intuition, you know, it's time to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
And there was a training that I had heard of, I didn't know much about, is what I had alluded to earlier. I go. And I basically, as a result of that training, I became able to feel energy really strongly. I started to see it around people, which was a really cool experience.
That's interesting.
And from a health perspective, from a healing perspective, I look at human beings as a quadrinity. We're spiritual, emotional, mental, physical. The physical, think of it like the core layer. It's like the core of an onion, core of a ball. And you have these layers outside. And in my paradigm, I invite people to try it on. I don't claim for this to be the truth. I see it as it's my truth or it's a truth, but it has worked for everyone I have been with.
Wow.
And I encourage people to try it on. Pretty much every culture around the world speaks to this in some way. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. As a result of that, who you are is whole, perfect, and complete. Nothing could happen to who you are. Who you are could never have a disease. Who you are could never be broken. Who you are, alluding to what we talked about earlier about blocks, is never not enough or whatever that would be. But you could believe all those things. And if you believe it, it'll be real for you. So I have a distinction. There's who you are and there's who you're being.
I see.
Who you are, again, whole, perfect, and complete. That spiritual being having a human experience. Who you're being is a moment-to-moment creation. It's just that for most people, who you're being is unintentional. It's unconsciously created. So who you're being now is based on a repetition of who you've been up until this point. And who you've been up until this point has been, let's say, more than likely unserving you in the sense of you're not creating the life that you want. It's repeating old patterns. It's dragging with you beliefs that don't serve you about money, about health, about whatever. And so that's who you've been being, right? So we're spiritual beings. So using this onion metaphor, you're this outer layer. And as that light, think of it like pure white light, is coming in to the physical to incarnate, it passes through the mental layer. And the mental layer is where I call it the mental prism. That's the mental prison, rather. That's one of the 4 blocks that I identify with people. And the mental prison are all of these blocks, all of these blocks that you may carry. It's beliefs about yourself, others in the world that don't serve you. And they can be often, traumatic. And so you're holding on to these things, and that light filters through. Almost think of like a cloud layer. And as it filters through, that white, pure light gets distorted a bit.
Okay.
Because it's now moving through a layer that doesn't represent what it actually is. And then it goes through the emotional layer, which is often where the process I'm going to guide us through in a moment lives. And in the emotional layer, we have these suppressed emotions. It could be anger, sadness, fear, hurt, and guilt, shame, abandonment, anxiety, rejection, etc. All of these emotions, emotion, energy in motion. Emotions are meant to come up and flow out, come up and be experienced. But most people are walking around with unexperienced experiences. They have an experience and they tell themselves, for whatever the reason, I cannot experience this right now. It could be I can't handle it, it's not appropriate, or it could be some type of story, men don't cry, or whatever story they've got, and they push it and they suppress it down. And they think that because life moves on and then they feel better at some point, that it was dealt with. That isn't how it works. Whatever you suppress will eventually express. So in this example, the light passes through the mental, it gets distorted because most of us have these blocks. Then it goes through the emotional, and you have these suppressed emotions, further distorts that light. And now the light enters into the physical. And so think of it like this. Your physical body is brand new over time because old cells die, new cells come in. It's always turning over. So my understanding of the research, every year, 50 to 80%, 50 to 70% of your body is brand new. Every 3 to 10 years or so, the remainder pretty much turns over. And there's very, very, very few cells that remain with you your entire life. There's certain cells in the lens of the eye. There's certain neurons in the brain. But 99.9% of your physical structure is brand new every 7 to 10 years. So if I were to ask the listeners, do you have any memories from when you were a kid? You have any memories from when you were a teenager, 20s, 30s, whatever it might be, something that's 10 years or more beyond where you are now? And most people would say yes. And I'd say, great, I want you to think back to that memory right now. Pick one that's really strong, and they get it. Close your eyes, go into it. And like, where are you? And they're like, oh, I'm 7. I'm at grandma's house, like gingerbread cookies, whatever it is. They smell it. And they connect to it. And I go, great, who was it in that memory? And they'll say, that was me. And I'll say, okay, that was you. And this is you now, right? And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, and how old are you? And they'll say, 65. And I'll say, great. You've had at least 5 to 6 completely different bodies. Unless you think you're the cell in the lens of your eye, you've had completely different bodies. And yet you say that was you then and this is you now. What that tells me is that who you are isn't physical, who you are is metaphysical. Meta is a prefix, it means above or beyond. So who you are, I use this metaphor of every 7 to 10 years, you get a new model of your car, but the driver is the same. So the question is, who's the driver? And depending on where you live in the world and the culture and the religion and what language and verbiage you're exposed to, soul, awareness, spirit, consciousness, life, Atma, Brahma, whatever you call that, great spirit, you're that. And so the thing is, because that's what you are, everybody else is that too. And so you're this pure light. It passes through mental, it passes through emotional, and when it hits physical, it informs the cells essentially how to be. Because if you have, let's say, a liver cell that should be brand new roughly every 6 weeks or so, and you've had liver issues for 20 years, you've had a lot of new livers. How is it that the new liver keeps having all the problems that the old liver had?
What the heck?
And what I have found is when we remove the mental, emotional, energetic blocks, so think of it like healing happens simultaneously from the outside in and from the inside out. Happens from the outside in the sense that you realize who you are as spirit. You you clear, let's say, the mental and emotional blockages so that light is as undistorted as possible. And then when that comes into the physical, as the old cells die and the new cells come in, they don't carry the same old problems anymore. And I've seen people heal from things that people said weren't possible. So all that, I thank everyone for listening to that because I know it was a lot. All that is a preface to what I'm about to share, because this, I want you to open up to the possibility. I invite you, let's say, to open up to the possibility that there are things you've been holding on to for potentially decades that if you wanted to, like genuinely wanted to, you have to want this, you could let go of it on this podcast right now. Because if I were to say, for example, forgiveness, you brought that up, you really can only forgive somebody if you want to. Now, wanting to forgive does not mean forgiveness is not condoning. Forgiveness is not saying whatever they did was okay, that they should do it again, that it was right. It's none of those things. Forgiveness does not make it right.
Right. Okay.
Often people will tell me things like, but if I forgive that person, that means it was okay.
Oh, okay.
It's like, and then so obviously I said earlier, all behavior makes perfect sense given the thinking you have that appears real to you. Of course you don't forgive that person because you're holding on to, this was the most horrendous thing that anyone could have ever done to me. And if I forgive, it's somehow making that okay. And that's one perspective and it's valid and you're free to hold that. But in my experience, holding that will keep you stuck. Holding that will perpetuate your pain. It'll perpetuate your dis-ease. And if that person's still in your life, it is actively eroding that relationship. And so my recommendation for people, try on the possibility. Forgiveness is not making it okay or right. What forgiveness is doing is forgiveness is saying, I am going to free myself from the mental prison that I've been in for however long. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. From a cause and effect perspective, some faiths and around the world will call that karma. Karma means action. So from a cause, and in the Bible, it's like you reap what you sow, same idea. Yeah. So it's their karma, whatever they did to you. It's not your responsibility to figure that part out. But whatever you're holding, you can free yourself from that. You don't have to get the apology from the other person because you may never get that. Right. If you say, I'm going to hold this until they finally basically give me permission to let it go, only you can give yourself permission to let it go. So whatever happened, and there's this weight that's been in there. Now it could be an anger. It could be a resentment. Somebody did something, treated you a certain way. But I come from a space of believing, because all behavior makes perfect sense given the thinking you have that appears real to you. Have you ever had an experience that you look back on and you say, what was I thinking? Like, why did I do that? Why did I say that? I have some regret, let's say, for that. Yeah. That wasn't the best version of me that came up there. Yeah. And everyone I've ever spoken to can say yes to that because none of us are perfect in the physical. And so as a result of that, I say, great. So the very nature that you can point out, what was I thinking? I wouldn't do that again. It means that you're not the same version of you that you were then. It means you've grown. Now, you wouldn't want somebody else to hold you in this box from 5, 10, 20 years ago saying you're this kind of person because you're not. Right. There's who you're being. Right. Who you were being in that moment was far from your best. Right. Who you're being in that moment might have been nasty, cruel. You might have done some really horrendous things. But it's not who you are. You didn't do those things because you're a bad person. You did those things maybe because you were in pain. You did those things because you were afraid. You did those things because it was the least of the evils that you knew how to do. Yeah. It's not justifying it. It's not condoning it. It's trying to understand it. Right. And if we can understand it and we realize, just like I have said and done things that I would regret or I would take back if I could, what if that's true for everybody else? And what if this person that I'm holding in this box of they're the devil and they're doing they did all these things and I'm never going to forgive them? What if there's a Buddhist perspective, harboring resentment is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Yeah. So here I am holding on to this. And, in the Bible, Jesus says something like I'm going to paraphrase it, before you point out the splinter in your neighbor's eye, take out the log that's in yours. Same idea. Yeah. The thing you're accusing others of, to some degree, you're probably doing that yourself. Yeah. And you're probably not conscious of it. And that's a human thing. It's not a you thing. Right. And so if we can allow ourselves to say, what if I'm a spiritual being having a human experience? Everybody else is too. Jesus says, Father, forgive them for they know not what they do. Right. So they're not doing what they do because they're bad people. They're also, I've studied all the different world religions. I love all of them. I just use this because it seems appropriate in the moment. Yeah. This idea of everyone is a child of God. Everyone's a spirit. Everyone's a soul. No one's better than anybody else. Our egos like to kind of hierarchy and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so with that in mind, that person that you're harboring all this resentment to, or that person that you're holding guilt for whatever the reason, or somebody passed away and you have there's three reasons you do this process. One is somebody has wronged you to some degree. So there could be anger, there could be resentment, something like that. You can do this for that. The second is somebody has passed away and there's not a completion. Excuse me. there's this sense of I'm still holding on, not to the memory, but it's like energetically, you're still tied to like their body, but they're not there anymore. And so it's like, in a way, you're still tethered to the past.
Yeah.
And you can use this process to free yourself and reach completion. And the third reason to do something like this is you want to deepen the relationship. You want to deepen the connection. It's not uncommon. People do this process, and whoever they did it with in their mind calls them or comes back into their life. I said earlier, energy, there's no distance, there's no time. You ever have the experience where you thought about someone you haven't spoken to in a long time, and then within an hour, a day, a couple days, you get a message and you go, I was just thinking about you, or they call you.
Yeah.
I think of it like an energetic Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It's like we all are connected. Like, I think of consciousness as like almost like there's a universal consciousness, and then there's your locus, like your individual point of consciousness. That I might call that like the ocean of spirit and your individual soul. But your soul is connected to that ocean of spirit. And so it's like the internet. Okay. And so the idea is that I'm sending you the email, I'm sending you the message. Did you get it? Yeah. And if you're sensitive to energy, you can feel it. And so all that to say, there's people who may reach out to you if they're still here in the physical, and you might have a chance to improve that relationship. So in this process, as I guide people through it, I strongly encourage you again, choose to allow this to work for you. I had a mentor say this to me one time, and it really stood out. I said, they took me through a process, and I said, how do I know that it worked? And they said, decide that it worked. And I thought that was really interesting because, for example, if I go through a forgiveness process, but I don't actually want to forgive you, it's not going to work.
Right. Yeah, makes
but
sense.
If I go through a forgiveness process and I allow myself to be led or guided through it, and I give myself permission to finally let it go, it'll go. And when it goes, it's not because like Jamil did something to you. Yeah. It's because I guided you through a process, and then you gave yourself permission within this safe space to finally let go of what you've been holding on to. So it's like I'm holding something in my hand and I'm gripping it as tight as possible. That's tiring after a while. The arm's going to fatigue, the muscles are going to give out. And what if I finally opened it up? I might be afraid to do that. I might be scared. But if I do it, even if it's inch by inch, eventually it goes, that's so much more comfortable. That's so much more light. I can finally breathe. And I've seen people have tears in this experience. People have had release in a variety of ways. You might yawn, you might cough, you might go through a process of things come up for you. And so big picture, this is what we're going to do. Okay. I'm going to have you first ground, and I'll guide everybody through that. And I'm going to have you fill up with this divine source of love, healing energy, whatever that means for you. It might be light of God. It might be light, source, universe, whatever you want to call that. Love, it could be a quality. Just allow yourself to be filled with this. Once you're filled with it, you'll have your eyes closed. Do this in a place where you feel safe. Do it in a place, don't do it when you're driving. Do it in a place where you can sit and not be disturbed. I'd recommend put the phone on silent right before so you're not disturbed. We're going to go about 15, 20 minutes. Okay. And in this process, I'm going to have you imagine a stage, like the stage of a theater. And I'm going to have you bring people onto the stage. Now, this process originally is, I said it's from Hawaii. It's called ho'oponopono. Now, this process is misunderstood by most people who've heard it. Okay. And this is the reason. So I said ho'o means to make. Pono is to make right. But not right as in correct. Okay. It's not like I'm right, you're wrong. Right as in like we're good, right? And so it's pono because when you double a word up, it's both within and without. So I'm right within and I'm right without. And there's also like an exponential like rightness, right? It's really right. And so in the 1980s, there were these pioneers in the personal development industry. They went to Hawaii and they learned from these practitioners that were doing incredible healing work. And one of them was this woman who was known for ho'oponopono, which is a very ancient, like thousands of years old type of thing. And so this woman, guided them through it over the course of hours. I'm going to give a modified version of it. And they said, this is incredible. We want to bring this back to the mainland, but this is way too intense for the average, let's say, Westerner. And so they made that decision, kind of for people. So they turned this entire process into what's called a ho'oponopono prayer. That's what most people who are aware of it are aware of. Okay. It's 4 lines. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. Thank you. Now, that prayer has been very helpful for a lot of people. So it's not knocking it. It's been life-saving. And it can be beautiful. The challenge is that if somebody wronged you to a really like horrendous degree, I wouldn't advise you to say thank you. like for that.
Yeah.
And there could be a degree of resistance to the process.
Yeah.
So the process is not about that. So I'm going to guide you through, as far as I know, the original process, but I'm going to give you a bit of a modified version because normally I do this with everybody in your entire life. And we're going to do 1 to 3 people. I encourage you to pick 1 to 3 people that you either have some type of unfinished business with. There's a conversation that was never had. There's some type of resentment. There's some type of guilt. There's something that you wanted to say that you never said it. Maybe they're not in your life anymore. Maybe they passed away. Maybe there was always just something that felt unsaid. This is an opportunity to do that. And so, are we ready to go?
Yeah. Let's do. I'm excited to do this. This is cool.
Yeah.
Real quick before we keep going, if you've been nodding along to anything we've said in the last 30 minutes, and if anything hit, I want to ask you something. Most people who watch the podcast and get real value from it never hit subscribe, not because they don't want to, but simply because nobody asked. So I'm asking if anything in this conversation gave you one idea, one shift, one moment where you thought, that's exactly it, hit subscribe right now. It's the one free thing you can do to keep this going. And if we've earned it, we'll keep earning it every single week. I've done the modified version where you say thank you with Tony Robbins and stuff.
Yes, he learned from some of those people in like the 80s who went there. But he's also, I'm sure, aware of this because he knows my teacher.
Yeah, cool.
And so with that in mind, I'll do this as well. I advise everyone to close your eyes. And we're going to begin by taking a nice deep breath through your nose for about 3 to 4 seconds, out through the mouth, nice and slow for 6 to 8 seconds. Continuing to breathe this way, in through the nose, 3 to 4 seconds, out through the mouth, 6 to 8. When you breathe in this pattern, where the exhale is longer than the inhale, you stimulate what's called the vagus nerve, and your body activates more of what's called your parasympathetic nervous system, which is supportive of relaxation, rest, healing. It's hard to heal when you're tense. And with every exhalation, bring awareness to any parts of the body that might be clenching, starting in the head and the face. We often clench our jaw. We don't even realize it. As you exhale, just let the jaw open up a little bit and let it relax, signaling to your body, I'm safe. Bringing awareness to your shoulders on your next exhalation, letting them drop to whatever degree, maybe unintentionally, you were hiking them up. Let them drop a little bit more and a little bit more. If you notice any part of the body that feels a bit contracted, just breathe into that area, allowing it to relax and to open. Just more and more relaxed with every exhalation. And I want you to imagine energetic roots, like roots of a tree, coming out of your feet. And just imagine driving them deep into the earth. And with every exhalation, the roots go deeper and deeper. And as the roots further deepen into the earth, with every inhalation, breathing in that earth energy, feeling more grounded, more stable, more secure. And give full permission to your body with every exhalation to let go of anything you're holding on to, any tension, physically, emotionally, mentally, any dis-ease. Let it go with the exhalation. Let it go into the earth. You may feel it draining out of the body. You may not. Just allow yourself with every exhalation to let go, imagining whatever you're letting go of being drained into the earth, where it could be alchemized over for good. The earth can handle it. And allow this process to continue throughout our time together. And then imagine above your head an infinite source of love, healing energy. It could be whatever color or colors would most serve you. If you're able to visualize it, beautiful. But throughout our time together, visualization is not required. And so if you don't visualize anything, just the intention to let your body do what we're talking about here is enough. And allow that light to pour into the crown of your head. And allow it to flow down the body easily and effortlessly, making its way all the way down to the feet, the tips of the toes. And just like an empty glass being filled with water, when the water hits the bottom of the glass, it fills. Just like that. Imagine that love healing energy reaching the bottom of your feet, filling up the feet, past the ankles, filling the shins and the calves, past the knees, the quads, the hamstrings, and allow this infinite source of love healing energy to fill in any gaps, any voids left by the removal of what the earth has drained away. Feeling this energy fill up the glutes, your hips, your waist, the abdomen, the lower back. Pausing there for a moment and bringing your awareness to your lower back, where your kidneys are, your adrenal glands looking like little hats right on top of them. And this part of the body is often where we store fear, shock, things of that nature. And just imagine that divine love healing energy massaging its way into that area. Just sending that energy through, displacing, dislodging anything that doesn't serve you. And with every exhalation, it drains away into the earth easily and effortlessly. And allow this process to continue as we bring your awareness to your stomach, your abdomen, all your internal organs. And we bring your awareness to your liver on the right side, right below your rib cage. And like I said earlier, it's often associated with anger, with resentment, with frustration, with a grudge. And allow that divine love healing energy to work its way in, massage its way in. And just with every exhalation, just give permission to let go. You've held it long enough. I invite you to put it down and let it be drained away with every exhalation, just feeling lighter and lighter. You've been carrying things that were never yours to carry. Allowing this divine healing energy to continue its work in the liver as it continues to move up, filling up the mid-back, the upper back, the chest, bringing your awareness to your lungs, and allowing that divine love healing energy to massage its way into the lungs, loosening up, releasing any grief, any sadness, anything that was never expressed. If there's any emotions coming up, any tears, I invite you to allow that to happen. It's coming up to come out, and it's coming out because you're ready for it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be happening. Feeling yourself filled with this love healing energy as this light continues to move up, filling up the shoulders, down the arms to the tips of the fingers, filling up the hands, the forearm, the elbows, past the bicep, tricep, up the shoulders, upper traps, filling up the neck, the throat, your face, the rest of your head. And as it reaches the crown, this infinite source of love healing energy overflows like a fountain, coating the entire outside of your body as well in this infinite source of love healing energy. Feeling totally healed up, totally loved. And allow this infinite source of love healing energy to continue to flow throughout the process. And I'd like you to imagine a stage, like the stage of a theater, below you and in front of you. You can construct it however you wish. Just imagine that stage below you and in front of you. And in a few moments, we're going to invite out some people onto the stage. And 2 recommendations that I have found helpful. If for whatever the reason you have a hard time forgiving, please remember the version of this person on the stage. This is their soul. This is the part of the individual that knows exactly what occurred, has deep remorse, that actually loves you, even though they may not have shown it in their egoic form, in their human form. And this is the part of them that wants to make it right, however it can. This is the part of them that wants completion, that wants you to feel free. And will do whatever it takes for that to occur. The second recommendation is, if for whatever the reason it's difficult, you can shrink the person down, making them younger and younger. You could take them all the way back to being a baby. Most of us have an easier time seeing the innocence of a child than we do in an adult, but it's still them. And so I invite your unconscious mind to bring out onto the stage whoever it is you'd love to do this process with, the 1, 2, 3 or so people. Anyone with whom you've got unfinished business with, anyone with whom there's grief and you'd love some completion, anyone with whom there's anger and there's not forgiveness. Bring them onto the stage. Whatever you see or don't see is perfect. And as you bring them onto the stage, allow that infinite source of love healing energy to pour out of your heart. And as it pours onto the heart, out into the stage, it fills them up completely from the tips of their toes to the top of their head. Fully healing them up, head to toe, with this love healing energy. Allow this to occur easily and effortlessly, filling them up completely, letting it overflow out just like it did for you, coating them inside and out. So they're totally healed up and totally loved, remembering that when a person is totally healed up and totally loved, forgiveness is easy. When you remember that people are doing the best that they know how to do with the resources that they have, and sometimes the best they've got is 1 out of 10. When you remember that hurt people, that people are operating from pain, ignorance, fear, insecurity, etc., and their actions flow from there. And just like ourselves, we've been there. Maybe we didn't do the same thing, but in our own way, we've done these kind of things. And just like we're not a bad person, neither are they. See them totally healed up, totally loved. And now we begin the forgiveness process by saying to the group, I forgive you. Please forgive me too. Allowing this forgiveness to be a gift that's given and received. It's not, I'm sorry. It's not a one way. There's a back and forth. Whatever part that I may have played, whatever role that I may have played, whatever I did or didn't do, whatever I said or I didn't say, whatever that was, maybe it was just hurtful thoughts that I harbored towards you. Any and all of that is worth asking for forgiveness for. Seeing the people on the stage, I forgive you. Please forgive me too. As you hear in response, we forgive you. Please forgive us too. Please forgive us too. And imagining yourself floating down to the stage where you can look at these people and be with them. And let's take a few moments. If there's anything you need to say, if there's anything you need to get off your chest, if there's anything you need to hear from them that would allow you to be finally free of this, allow that to occur. giving and receiving the gift of forgiveness, sharing anything that needs to be said, knowing it will be received with love, and hearing anything you need to hear from them in order to be complete. Taking about a minute or so more. As we know better, we have the opportunity to do better. And that applies to everybody else as well. You are innocent. You did what you did. There's responsibility, there's consequences. But as a soul, you are innocent, and so are they. We're all figuring out this human experience as we go, and sometimes we do some really horrendous things, and there's some traumatic consequences to that. And at the same time, we can be free of it right now. I forgive you. Please forgive me too. A few more moments to finish up. And now imagining floating higher and farther back so the stage is once again below you and in front of you. Thanking everyone for being here, for taking part in this process. And imagining an energetic thread, a strand of light, connecting everyone on the stage with you. And imagine these threads, these strands of light connecting around the belly button area, right in the center. And then look up to the infinite source of love, healing energy. And you see a blade of white light come out of that source. And the blade of white light drops. And easily and effortlessly it cuts through all of the energetic connections. And when the last connection is cut, the energetic threads, the blade of white light, return to source. The people on the stage disappear. The stage itself disappears. And you remain whole, perfect, and complete. And let's take 4 nice deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth to complete the process. Bringing your awareness to your body, wiggling your fingers, your toes. And when you're ready, taking the time that you need, you can come back into the room and open your eyes.
Man. Yeah, it's crazy. Thank you for that.
Thank you for the opportunity to lead people through that. And if I may just share 2 things.
Yeah.
So the first is I encourage everyone to now think about whoever was on that stage and notice what's different. Notice what feels different. There are times where forgiveness is a moment, and there's times where forgiveness is a process. Mm-hmm. So you might feel like it's completely gone, and you might feel that before it was 10 out of 10 and now it's a 4. Whatever degree of improvement there was, you did that. And you can continue doing that. And so notice what's different. Notice any lightness. Notice how you think about that person differently. Notice what emotions come up when you think about them now compared to before. And honor your journey and your process, that whatever it needs to be going forward, however many times forgiveness is warranted for you, that's okay.
Oh man, that was wow, super powerful. You know, like maybe we could talk about what I thought about afterwards. But
anything you want to share?
But I mean, this is my first experience doing, like, even I've done a similar exercise, right? Where during it, I could feel myself, like, the sensations as you're talking about different parts of the body and things, but I didn't feel like I was gonna, like, tear up.
Yeah.
You know, like, especially when it comes to the lungs, I'm like, oh, okay, like, this would be when I would think tears would come, and I'm not feeling it in a moment. But then way later on in the exercise, to my own surprise, I was like, I could feel tears coming to my face. I'm like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. And with that in mind, my question that I posed to everybody, when's the last time you just sat there and cried for no reason? And the thing, but what I mean by that is, like, you don't. That doesn't happen.
Right.
Tears show up, whether you're conscious of it or not, for a reason.
Right,
your body's having a release.
Yeah.
And again, sometimes tears is what it looks like. Sometimes it's yawning and coughing and being tired and whatever else. And it looks different for everybody. But these type of releases, I've seen them be very gentle and mild, and I've seen them be very intense and holding people through that.
Right, yeah.
And at the same time, on the other side of that, especially when, like, you do, like, the full-fledged process coupled with, like, that's more the emotional side, and then there's a deeper process for the mental and things of that nature. People look completely different. People look like the weight of the world came off their shoulders, like they de-aged like 20 years.
Yeah.
And there's this, like, because it's like you put the weight down.
Yeah.
And then the question becomes, what becomes possible for me when I'm no longer carrying this? A lot.
Yeah.
And it's like freedom is available. And the thing is, it was always there. No, like, there's a Rumi quote. It says something like, seek not for love. Rumi was a Sufi poet from like 800 years ago. He said, seek not for love, but seek out all of the barriers or the walls that you built up to keep it out. I use this metaphor of, imagine we're at a party. And at this party, it's very loud, a lot of music, a lot of commotion.
Sounds fun.
Yeah. And then at the end of it, I say, Jake, I'm going to stay. I'm going to help you clean up.
Yeah.
And it's really quiet. And there's a clock on the wall. And let's say I've never seen an analog clock that ticks. So I hear this ticking and I just go, what the heck is that noise? And it sounds loud. And I say, Jake, could you hear that? Like, what is that? And you go, yeah, it's the clock.
Yeah.
And I say, I've been looking at that all night. It hasn't ticked once.
Yeah.
And you say, no, it's always ticking. You just couldn't hear it because you were distracted.
Okay.
Peace, love, joy, freedom, things in that nature, they're all like that. They never go anywhere. You go somewhere. And so the idea is that it's not that you have to find peace. Peace is here. You don't have to find happiness. Happiness is here.
Yeah.
It's that you have to identify what's keeping it out in your experience.
Yeah.
What's seemingly blocking it.
Yeah.
Right. And so you do that, and that which has always been the case emerges. And so when I said that's who you are and it's who you're being, my work is, how do I help people come home to themselves? How do I help people remember who they truly are so they can be who they truly are? Because who you are is brilliant. Who you are is beautiful.
Yeah.
Who you are is generous. Who you are is powerful. Who you are is a manifestation of the divine.
Yeah.
And who you're being, the way Tony Robbins puts it, which is beautiful, he goes, what most people can do is extraordinary. What most people will do is disappointing. And so it's kind of that same, there's who you are and who you're being, who you're capable of being, heaven on earth.
Yeah.
And that's a choice.
Yeah.
And once you're aware of it, you can make that choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the saddest things that I've experienced is when you see someone not at peace.
Yeah.
When they, like, very easily could be. And I was hoping I could tie this in. I think this is a good moment, right? Yeah. So this is a true story. This is my story of the Portuguese dentist.
Okay. I love the name.
Okay. And so I was blessed to I was on vacation in Madeira. It's an island in Portugal. And I connected with this woman, and she's a very successful dentist. Okay. And she also is like super fit, like in amazing shape. She's like on the cover of Women's Health magazine because she's in such good shape. And she'd always, she'd go to work and the gym work. And that was her life. And that is her life. And when talking to her, she's like, I want to travel and have great experiences in life and just really enjoy it. And so I shared with her the story of the Mexican fisherman, which she was somewhat familiar with, but basically there's a Mexican fisherman who's living his life and he's fishing really well and enjoying it. And there's a businessman that comes to him and is like, hey, you should scale your business so then you can basically do whatever you want to do. You could go, spend time with loved ones or go play guitar in the evening, and you can basically do whatever you want. And the Mexican fisherman was like, looked at him, was like, well, this is what I already do right now, And so when the sad part of this story is when I explained this to her, and she was like, yeah, but the Mexican fisherman was already well off. He already had built everything up, and so then he could do whatever he wanted. I'm not like them. I came from nothing, and I'm going to have to build everything up. And so the saddest part is that she had the story completely backwards.
Yeah.
And she is the businessman in the Mexican fisherman story.
Yeah.
And like, what's so sad about that is like, people save up to, like I did, to go and travel to be in this beautiful spot. And she's living on an island and never gone to see the like most beautiful sunset or the waterfalls. And unless she comes to a realization, she will never get there. And so just the saddest part is you have someone who's living in paradise, and she's looking for it, and she's just not going to find it. And so to anyone listening to this, my advice would be to just, stop like searching for it. Or in her case, I think she has to earn it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to earn the right to start living. You just got to stop waiting. And so
I so just honor your heart, brother. I feel you, and I have tears thinking about it and hearing you, and we both have tears.
Yeah.
And there's a perspective that I share with people I think speaks to and builds on what you're sharing. And I mean this in a loving way. Argue for your limitations and you get to keep them. Argue for your possibilities and you get to create them. If you tell the story about why you can't, that will be your life. That will be your reality. Most people wait for the perfect time or the right time to start something without realizing that starting is what creates the perfect conditions. You start first. Like you said, you have it backwards.
Right.
And when we can come from that space of what is it that I'm really wanting? And this is just a little hack for everybody listening. What is it you're wanting? There's some type of goal you might think, that's what I want. That's what I need. Might be a house, money, whatever it would be. What is it you think you would feel when you have that? Well, I think I'd feel joy. I think I'd feel courageous. I think I'd feel love. I think I'd feel enough. Whatever. I'd feel generous. When I can give $10 million to charity, I'd feel really great. I'd feel good about myself. Okay. Emotions are an inside out phenomena, not an outside in. Generosity or gratitude or anger or joy, they don't come from out there. They're cultivated from within. Whatever you're wanting to do, you wanted to do it because you think you're going to feel a certain way. But the feeling is something that can be generated now. The only reason you know that what that feeling is because you felt it before. And so it's already within you. And I tell people this distinction: you can go after what you want in order to be happy, or you can go after what you want happily. If you go after what you want in order to be happy, you never arrive. Because if there is like a number line or like an alphabet, A to Z, A is where you start, Z is what you call your goal. And if you say, I'm going to go after what I want in order to be happy, Z equals goal fulfillment, Z equals happy, A, D, K, L, the whole time. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. And depending on your wiring and beliefs that you have, I'm not getting this. I don't deserve it. It's not happening fast enough. What's wrong with me? And it turns into this downward disempowerment spiral, shame spiral, that you're probably going to give up. And you're probably not going to even get there. And then if you do happen to get there, because you just persevered through it, you get there, you're momentarily experiencing, let's say, some satisfaction. You might call it happiness, but it doesn't last because you equated it to something that you need to get. And that law of familiarity, everything at some point becomes normalized for you. So whether it was the car or the house or the amount of money, at some point, it's just a car or it's just a house or it's just clothing or just whatever. And then you go, well, because in your mind, that thing is what made me feel the feeling. I just must need, I wasn't thinking big enough. I just need a bigger goal. I just need a bigger thing. So then you set your sights even bigger. And again, like the worst thing that could happen is you get it. Because if you get it, you keep perpetuating the belief that your happiness and your satisfaction and your joy comes from outside, and you keep punting it down, making bigger and bigger goals, wondering why you have everything that an old version of you ever wanted, and you're not happy. And if we can come from that space of I'm going to go after what I want happily, now you go back to that alphabet A to Z. Z is your goal to one sense, but in the other sense, you get to, let's say, K, and you go, K was a dream when I was at A. I'm actively living my dream right now. I'm in the process of dream realization where it's not a binary, like we said earlier. It's a continuum. And so it turns into, well, to what degree have I fulfilled my dream? What progress have I made? Who have I become versus where I was before? And now it's like you fall in love with the process just as much as the goal, where you might, I call it lifetime goals. When you set a lifetime goal, you're never going to accomplish it. So as an example, one of my goals is in the future, if my wife and I have kids, the idea is at my funeral, everyone that approaches my kids say, your dad changed my life. That's not a goal that while I'm alive has an end point.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a goal that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be working toward.
You're going to be like a ghost or whatever you believe. You know, what happens to your funeral?
Another goal is I want to end suffering for as many human beings as I possibly can. As long as I'm physically alive, there's never a point where I'm done with that. And so that's a goal that's both not attainable and perfectly attainable moment by moment by moment. And if I can fall in love with that process and that kind of dichotomy, that little balance act, there's so much fulfillment. The life that you're wanting is available now to whatever degree, because there's always something you can do to cultivate a sense of gratitude. I remember, again, Tony Robbins, when I was 15, was a big kind of mentor of mine. And there's a story that always stuck with me where he had this guy at his event in his what's called platinum partnership, where they pay like $100,000 or something for the year, and they can go to all the events and they can do all of it. And they sit in the front and like Tony walks by them and interacts with them and everything. And so this guy's worth, I think like $80 million in his net worth. And Tony was trying to make a point, and he points out this guy, I'm going to name him Steve. Steve, you're successful, right? Tony was going for like, yes, like say yes, you're successful. And the guy had an insight and he goes, no, I'm not successful. And Tony's confused and he goes, Steve, come on, you're successful, right? And he goes, no, excuse me. And Tony goes, well, what has to happen for you to be successful? And the guy goes, I mean, I can't be successful until I've got at least 100 million. And he's like, I'm nothing before then.
What a loser.
And then, and this is the key part of it, there was a guy in the audience who was homeless and somebody gave him a ticket. And Tony found out about it. And Tony goes, sir, can you please stand up? The guy stands up and he goes, are you successful? And the guy goes, absolutely. And Tony goes, what has to happen for you to be successful? And he goes, every day above ground is a good day. And so this is the key here. What has to happen in order for you to feel blank? You are the one who create your own rules. Part of the work I do with people is I help them bring to conscious awareness the rules that have been running their life that they're not aware of. So in order for you to be happy, what must happen? I'll be successful when, I'll be at peace when, I'll be enough when. With respect, every answer you give me is made up. Every answer you give me is a story. Every answer you give me is a perspective. Now that story, that perspective is either going to be empowering or disempowering. It's going to serve you and the life that you want to create, or it's not going to serve you. And you don't think it's a story, you think it's a fact because it's the way you grew up.
Right.
So the way dad instilled in you what it took to be a man or what it meant to be successful or what it meant to do this, you're running that program and you don't even know you have it. And we bring awareness to it. We rewrite the rule. And so using that example with Tony, that guy who's seemingly homeless, he's at home with himself and every day above ground is a good day. So he's walking around happy and fulfilled. And the $80 million guy walks around feeling like a failure. Who's more successful?
Right.
And it depends on how you define success.
Right. It does. In my case, I mean, my perspective with that, I would say the homeless guy. Yeah, Tony has some great stuff. I mean, it's personal. I'll show you after the show if you're interested. But like going through Tony's Robin's Date with Destiny, one of the things is like we rewrite the rules, you know.
Yes.
And so like my top value is love, and I used to think my old rule was like, oh, someone had to like be completely like accepting of me, and all these things that they weren't contingent on how I acted and controlled. And so to where now rewriting the rules in order to feel loved, I just have to notice love in others.
Yes.
I just have to give love to others, you know? And so then it's easy for me to feel love because it's, you make the rules very easy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like rule also just to make you aware of, like during podcasts or conversations I have with people, I am successful if I feel success, right, as a value, if I let you completely finish a thought.
Thank you for that.
And
That's
so
beautiful.
then it lets me be present, because then as soon as you finish a thought, then I'm like, oh, that was actually like for me as well. And then like in return, a lot of people feel, and I don't know if you do, but a lot of people feel like seen and heard.
Absolutely.
You know, because a lot of people don't really listen.
Yeah.
Truthfully, unfortunately, right? You know, I think you do, obviously, but a lot of people don't really listen, you know, and then the person right across from them, they don't connect with as much as they could. So rewriting those rules, even to connect more with people, is possible.
Yeah. When you share your highest value being love, that's something that we share in common. And I can feel that from you. You radiate that. And to your point, everyone listening, you have the opportunity every time you're in front of somebody. This also includes just with yourself in the mirror and outside of the mirror. But every relationship in front of you, whether it's the person at the gas station, the cash register person, your best friend, your child, you have the opportunity to support them in feeling seen, held, heard, loved, appreciated, valuable, just by your presence. I often tell people your presence is medicine. You know, and I grew up around a lot of doctors.
Predicin.
I love that. So I grew up around a lot of doctors. Yeah, I can have Predicin. Good. You heard it here. Yeah, I can have it. So I grew up around a lot of doctors, and there was this concept of bedside manner. And they would talk about how's the doctor's bedside manner in a similar kind of way. We all have bedside manner. I heard a great way of putting this. It was like your ultimate marketing, your business card. No, that's it. Your brand. Your brand is the feeling left in the room when you leave. That's your brand.
Interesting.
And so people are sitting there worried about like their website and worried about their business card and whatever else.
Yeah.
But when you leave the room, I'm going to give two extremes. Obviously, there's a lot in between.
Yeah.
One of them is, oh my God, like I wish Jake didn't have to go. And it's like the party kind of feels like the energy dropped a little bit. And like, what a great guy. Like every time I see that guy, like he changes my life. The other one is like, finally that guy's out of here. And it's like, you know, we can finally have fun now.
Right. Yeah.
And the thing is, obviously nobody wants to be that person.
Of course.
But the idea is that you are likely being some version of that spectrum on either side. And what if you were conscious about it? Like the way you just said, you want all of your guests to be able to finish a thought, to feel seen, to feel heard. That's beautiful. And with that in mind, I'd imagine you bring that into other relationships and people hear that, they feel that, and they just feel more comfortable around you. They open up more. And when people can feel, I find that we're all, virtually everybody, we're walking around feeling to some degree that nobody else understands.
Yeah.
We're walking around feeling alone.
Yeah.
I remember a Robin Williams quote where he said, and given what happened to him, it's unfortunate. The quote is, I used to think the worst thing in the world was being alone. Then I realized the worst thing in the world is to be surrounded by people and feel all alone.
Yeah.
So you have no idea what the person next to you is going through. They might have a smile on their face. They might be painting it up and looking nice, but they might be carrying the weight of the world. They might be going through a lot of horrendous things.
Yeah.
And we get so caught up, and it's not intentional, 99 times out of 100, but we get so caught up in what we're going through that we, like you said, we don't listen.
Yeah.
And we're not fully present because we're not listening to understand, we're listening to respond. And in that listening to respond, what matters most is not what's going on in this person. What matters most is what do I want to share? And so we're playing with these ideas in our mind, and the other person can tell.
Yeah.
You check your phone, you're kind of looking to the side while they're talking, you're looking past them, you're looking, you're nodding, but you're listening you're looking at them as you're speaking going, I don't think they're paying attention to me.
Yeah, you can tell.
You could tell. And in these kind of situations where when you can help a person feel like they matter because they do, when you can help a person feel important because they are, there's like who you are now and there's who you could be. And who you could be, let's say, would make a greater impact maybe in the world than you're doing now. But it's almost like saying, there's a little kid that I'm talking to. And I say, what do you want to do when you get older, Timmy? And Timmy's 11. And Timmy goes, I want to be the president. Now let's imagine Timmy actually could become the president, and the way he was raised and the way his values are. Let's say Timmy actually would be the best thing for the country in like 40 years. But I say to Timmy, oh, there's no way like you can do that. Like you're not good enough for that. Or I just start planting these seeds, whether I'm realizing it or not.
Yeah.
I just changed that child's path, assuming I had influence and the child believed me, where that whole power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yeah.
My presence either just cost the world greatly in the decades to come.
Yeah.
Or it made a big difference if I spoke life into this child and I spoke life into the dream and I fed them and I saw them. So next time your friend or somebody goes, like you might say, is there a dream you have right now you're working on or a goal? And they go, I'm working on this. And so prior to you having a podcast, it might be, Jake, what are you up to? I got this crazy idea. I want a podcast. And somebody goes, that's so cool. Like you're so personable and you'd be amazing at that. And now you're like, oh okay. Then you do the first one.
Yeah,
exactly. Someone gives you some feedback.
Yeah.
And the feedback is, I listened to that episode. It might've been the only one they listened to. And it might've been 30 seconds of it, but they go, you were really good. Like it was a great conversation. And then you go, wow, people are paying attention. This was in the beginning for me at 14. I was getting that positive feedback and it nurtured the goal.
Yeah.
I felt seen. I felt heard. I felt appreciated. I felt what I was doing was valuable. And because it was making a difference, not just to me, but to others, I wanted to do more of it.
Yeah.
And countless people's lives have been either positively benefit, literally saved. People have told me they're physically still alive because of the work we've done. But that only happened because I was 14 and someone gave me a compliment.
Yeah.
And so what if the next time you're around people, you spoke life into them? What if you believed in them? Potentially more than they believed in themselves. Part of coaching for me, I say it like kind of playfully, but I mean it. I am your greatest cheerleader. Like I see not only who you're being, not who you are, who you're being, but I also know who you are. And I also know like that soul, and I see who you could be. And I see you not just as you are, I see you as you could be. And I do what I can through my language, through my belief in you, through my invitations of action to call you up, not to call you out. And if I call you up, you raise your game, you elevate. And as that happens, the world wins. Yeah. And so it's like every one of us have that power. And it reminds me of an old story in personal development. It's called the starfish story.
Okay. Yeah.
And little girls walking on the street, not the street, walking on the beach. And there's what seems like millions of starfish, just like beached. And she's picking them up one at a time and throwing them into the ocean. And this old guy looks at the little girl and he goes, little girl, what are you doing? And she goes, I'm saving the starfish. And he goes, there's way too many. You'll never get to all of them. What's the point? What difference could it make? And she looks at him. She looks down. She picks up a starfish. She looks at it. She throws it into the water and she says, it made a world of difference for that one.
Yes. Most
people let good be the enemy of great. They let getting started imperfectly be the enemy of actually starting. And so it's the idea of, yeah, I might not be making a difference for 8 billion people, but in a way that doesn't matter. Is the person in front of me, is their life better as a result of the interaction we just had? Are they somehow lighter Am I leaving everyone better than I found them? And if you commit to that, you literally are making the world a better place just by your presence. You know, there's that old story, I think I heard it from Jordan Peterson, but it's like before you try to, let's say, clean up the world, clean up your room, clean up your house. You know, start locally. That's another adage. It was like, think globally, act locally. Think in terms of like the biggest good you can do. But are you actively making a positive difference right now? Every person that you spend time with, it could be an Uber driver. You have an opportunity to make a positive impression. You have an opportunity to make a positive impact. You have no idea where that's going to lead. Don't do it for that reason, my invitation, because then you're not giving, you're trading. But if you can come from a space of, I am going to be, because again, my highest value in life and business is love. I want to be the walking embodiment as much as I can be of unconditional love. And as I know how to do that more, I strive to do that. And if people feel that, it's not a me thing. It turns into, if I start speaking Swahili right now, you said earlier, you don't speak it. So I'm going to go from, in your mind, understandable sound to just noise. And there's going to be no meaning because you don't know what I'm saying. Why? If we use the computer metaphor, Swahili is the software, English is the software, English is installed in you, Swahili is not. So because it doesn't exist within you, you don't recognize it out here. You don't even know it's Swahili if I don't tell you. But the thing is, the moment you recognize that that which is within is without, meaning admiration is projection, that which you admire in another, you only can admire it, you only can recognize it because it exists within you. I speak English, you understand it because it exists within you. You see me act courageously. Excuse me. The only reason why you can recognize that as courage is because courage exists within you. Now, I might be, let's say, practicing it more. I might have cultivated the courage muscle to the point where it's seemingly easier for me. But you can only recognize my courage because you have courage. And my courage represents the possibility of what you could do for yourself. So if you see me operate in a certain way, one option is you pedestalize me. But then when you do that, you take the quality out of you and you make it some guy out there is better than me. But if you see it as everything I admire in another is, I can only recognize it because it exists within me. And what others have created for themselves, what others demonstrate in their action, who they're being in their love, let's say, well, I could be that. And in my own way, I don't have to be like them. And so if I can say, how could I make my interaction with my spouse 1% more loving today? How could I make my children feel 2% more like dad believes in them? How could I show up in such a way where the person in front of me feels seen, heard, and held? And if I'm conscious about that, every relationship I have, every interaction will be improved. And now, again, I am leaving a ripple of impact because now going back to that little Timmy example, let's say Timmy is my friend's kid and he wants to be president, but no one really kind of believes he can do that. But for whatever the reason, I do. So I just speak all this life into him. And let's say he gives my words some more weight than other people. But then I don't see Timmy again, ever. Timmy, fast forward 50 years, becomes president of the country. Timmy, along the way, does all this good. Then Timmy instills all these policies that do good for hundreds of millions of people, let's say. And then somebody, if Timmy's aware of it, somebody goes, what was like the biggest shift in your life? And Timmy goes, I was 11 and some guy told me that I could be president. And just that comment that I might not have even realized what it would have done, that seed that I planted, impacted hundreds of millions of people 30, 40 years later. And yet there I am, not knowing the impact, saying my life was meaningless. I didn't have an impact. You can't not have an impact. You will impact everybody you will ever meet. The question becomes, to what degree and in what way? And you have a say in that.
Totally agree. And very beautifully well said. And I appreciate you sharing that. A couple more questions I want to ask you. And don't feel rushed.
Okay. It's perfect.
If you had a chance to go back and talk to your 9-year-old self, what would you say to him?
So I think back to, my life at 9, and I look the kind of questions when people, this isn't what you asked me, but the kind of questions where people say like, if you could go back and change something, what would you change? And I get where that comes from. And I also feel like that butterfly effect concept, that one thing leads to the next, and you never know. There's movies about this where you change something in the past and then your whole life changes and then you go, all the good things were gone too.
Right.
So I wouldn't change anything because again, everything like kind of got me to this point. And at the same time, I would encourage that 9-year-old self to know, because I carried that belief of not being enough. I carried some of my own kind of core wounds that I was holding of feeling like I always needed to perform at a certain level because that meant acknowledgement, praise, love, validation, all that. I needed to be good enough. I would, if he would believe me, I would instill in him that he's perfect as he is, to be a kid, to have fun, to enjoy his life, knowing that there's going to be so much richness that is to come. I had moments of, 9 years old, probably around that time, I had moments of being bullied and I had a lot of different challenges that had occurred. I would encourage him to not take those comments seriously. And I would just instill the self-love, the self-esteem, the self-confidence to whatever degree I could. And because if he knew he's talking to me, then he knows that it all works out. And then from that space, letting him live his life in the most loving, present, and gentle with himself way of doing it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I could see that. Like, if you could teach him to be happy in the moment, right? Enjoy the whole process, like with like the alphabet. You could teach him like right when he learns the alphabet. I mean, it would be most ideal, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Final closing question. What's the one thing you've done that's made the biggest difference in your life?
So one thing that I've done that's made the biggest difference in my life, what's coming to mind is, and it kind of goes with our conversation, I said yes. And that applies across the board in my life.
Okay.
I said yes when my friend said, you want to join the track team? I said yes when a friend of mine invited me to be a part of his program, business-wise, that I didn't need to say yes to, but it seemed interesting. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then the butterfly effect of that and what it led to. I said yes when my wife and I went out, for the first date. I said yes. In this case, funny. In this case, I said no, but it was when I said yes to me. Or I said yes to my intuition, I'll put it that way. When my father's brain aneurysm happened and I was home, and as a result of being home, he survived. I wasn't supposed to be home because I was supposed to, at least from an ego perspective, be at this medical hearing in terms of, I was part of this pre-med group and we were told every year we got to fight to keep the funding. We bring certain students who share their experience of the program. Would you be one of them? I said yes. And I was going to be gone from Friday morning to Sunday night. My dad had a brain aneurysm on Sunday morning. He was in a locked room. I broke the door to get him out. If I wasn't home, he would have died. The reason why I didn't go is my intuition came in 3 days before it and very clearly said, something's not right, don't go. And I ignored it. The next day it was louder, something's not right, don't go. And I ignored it and it was yelling at me, something's not right, don't go. And I listened. And as a result of that, I do what I do now and I am who I am now. Now, so in that example, I said yes to my intuition. I said no to the offer to go. So saying yes, life will present you with all the opportunities to get the life that you want, but you have to say yes. And sometimes saying yes feels scary. Sometimes saying yes is outside of what you've done before, so it's outside of your comfort zone. So you might equate that feeling of discomfort to it's bad. But the thing is, it's unfamiliar. Excuse me. Anything unfamiliar is unfamiliar until it's not. How do you become familiar with something? You have to start with being unfamiliar.
Right, yeah.
And if you're willing, like Les Brown, he's still alive, but he was a really famous motivational speaker. And he has this quote, anything worth doing is worth doing badly until you get it right. But if you expect it to go perfectly the first time, you're going to give up because your first time is probably not going to go well.
Right.
And then you'll tell yourself a story. I guess I'm not cut out for this. I don't have what it takes. Nobody's good at it from the first stop. And if sometimes the worst thing that could happen is your first thing is really successful because then it deludes you into thinking that every other time is going to be like that.
Going to be real successful, yeah.
Versus if it took you 30 attempts and then you pulled it off, then you realize it took work, it took time.
Right.
You know? So all that to say, saying yes me saying yes to the opportunities that have made the biggest difference in my life, that in the moment were scary and unfamiliar, that in the moment I was uncertain. I didn't know how it was going to go. I said yes to intuition in that example with my dad. I didn't know why, because I couldn't predict my dad would have a brain aneurysm on Sunday.
Yeah.
So when I said yes to me and no to them on Thursday night, all of Friday, they left, regular day. All of Saturday, regular day. By Saturday night, I thought, well, whatever that feeling was, I guess it was nothing. And then Sunday morning, like, you know, let's say God revealed it to me of why that happened.
Yeah.
And so I come from a space of believing that the right people come into your life, the right opportunities come into your life when you need them. The thing is that you could say no. And if you say no, different opportunities will present themselves. They won't exactly be the same. The timeline will change. But the thing is, you have the power. And so if it really feels aligned, if you feel that something's telling me, like, do this, and obviously, like, use your intelligence, like, within reason, but more times than not, saying yes will help you create the life that you want way more than living in fear ever will.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate all your insight, you coming here, and yeah, just it's so great sitting down and talking with you, and I appreciate you coming all the way out here. So, Jamil, thank you so much.
Thank you, Jay.
Appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you soon.